All right, welcome back everybody. So we're at Augment Guitars today, and Ben is going to talk to us about how he makes his necks. So I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Yeah, definitely. So what I do first is I usually buy the wood pretty much pre-shaped, as you saw in the other video. So, excuse me. For example, let's just say we have this piece of walnut right here. It's 3/4 inch, and I pretty much either cut it or get it to where it's at this state, where it's the perfect size for a neck. So the first thing I do is I sketch out all my center lines and I map everything out where I want the neck to sit based on the grain patterns here. And then I have all of these templates that I made for all my builds. This one's a Telecaster pocket, which is more square, versus the Strat, which kind of comes out more of at a point. And this is for 22 frets. The ones I have for my Strat style pockets are a little bit longer, and they're for 24 fret configuration, or they can be in 22 frets as well, but I designed them for 24 frets. So I trace it out and everything, and then I take it to the bandsaw out there, and I cut it out so that it's at pretty much this state without this truss rod cavity in here. So this is a really, I made this probably about 8 years ago, and it was a mess up, but I use it as a good kind of like reference and teaching tool here. And this is also made out of walnut. So once I cut them out with this, I use a couple different of these jigs that I have back here that I'll show you. So the first one is to cut out the truss rod route right there. So this is a jig I made, and I got the idea from a couple luthiers online, and this helps me cut both the truss rod cavity out as well as these carbon fiber support rods that I use to kind of strengthen the necks up. So you can see these are the two carbon fiber rods. I believe they're like 1 or 2 millimeters by 2.5 or something like that. So it's kind of like a square, like a rectangle. And then these, usually what they do is they line from like right here. I do it at an angle here to stagger it a bit like that. And then this isn't the right style truss rod, but it's the same StuMac truss rod thing that I use. And it probably won't go in because this thing wasn't routed the best. This was when I was first starting. But that sits there, the spoke sits there, and then these two sit on either side. So a lot of these jigs online are only for routing this, you know, the main truss rod cavity, but I wanted a little bit more adjustability so that I can angle the necks a bit, to cut out the truss rod or the carbon fiber. And you have
this as a rail for sliding.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I do is I map out where the truss rod's going to be in both the carbon fiber support rods, and then I line them up with the center line on the front and the back as well, so you can see that. So when I find, you know, the correct position, I put in some of these stop blocks, and then I also use a clamp at the headstock, and then I tighten all these up, and this puts pressure on all sides of it so that it stays put. So right there, it's right here. So that I can get my router and I can lock it in here, and I can plunge down and go all the way down the neck, and then I can set up another block right here to be a stop block for when, or it's on this side. So it'll stop right at the point where I want it to stop. So
gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty slick. And you designed that yourself?
So I got it online and I kind of modified it a bit.
Little bit of
I can't take credit for this one.
Right. A little bit of thought from someone else. I like doing that though. I go on YouTube all the time and look at other people's ideas.
Yeah, when I had, because a lot of theirs was just for the truss rod. They don't put, you know, the carbon fiber supports. So I wanted one that had more adjustability, and I wanted these two rails to be really low for my compact plunge router here, because I use this pretty much for all my routes. It's small, it's compact, and it's really affordable with this cool Makita plunge router base. So this is like what I use, and I have the dust collection there, so it sucks up all the dust. So kind of one of a kind. Most of them for full-size routers. This one's for the
Right, the
small compact
one.
Makita. So I like this one. I use it pretty much for, like I said, all my routes. So
Yeah, I got a little Bosch router. It's a tiny one. I like it better than the big one.
yeah, it's easier to work with. You know, it's easier to kind of route stuff. So I have that. So the next step would be to, after we have everything routed, would be to glue the fretboard on. But before we do that, we need to make the fretboard. So I have this other jig right here, and I bought this one from, there's people that have made them before, and this is, once again, before I had my CNC machine. Guitars and Woods, I believe they are out of Spain, actually, but they ship this one from Canada. I think they have something over in Canada.
And that gives you your radius?
Yep, and this gives me the radius. So I have a bunch of these. This one's a 16-inch radius. I have from 7.5, I believe, all the way up to 20. So I ended up getting them all. Ignore the sandpaper. This is actually what I use to level and thickness nuts. So it works good because this is a machine piece of aluminum. So you attach the fretboard right on there with this, and then you just take multiple passes, and then as you can see, this, you know, moves in the radius. So usually I go long ways like this, go all the way to the end, and then come back, and I just use pretty much just straight, usually 1/2-inch cut router bits, I think, either that or 3/8.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and that gives me the radius on there. And then in the last video, I showed you how we cut the fret slots.
Right.
And I'll pull over one of the templates here. And this is what accurately cuts out. So this is like a 22.5-inch scale, so like a really short scale Mustang. And then this is a 25 PRS. So I have baritones, Gibson scales, Fender scales.
That's really
all
slick.
that. But it just, it locks into that pin, and then I double-sided tape it right there, wherever I want it, and then I just take it out there and cut the fret slots. And it
that's really interesting.
Makes it really easy. I used to do it with like just a hand saw and like the little miter station down there from StuMac.
That takes some time.
Yeah, this takes more than a fraction. It takes like to fret a whole fretboard. It's like, or to cut out the fret slots, it's like a minute. It's like, it's
in comparison,
so much faster.
Yeah.
It's so much faster. Yeah. So it's definitely worth the price to invest in that. So so after the fretboard's done, and we carve the necks and everything, another jig that I have, put this stuff over here, is to thickness the headstock. And this is one that I made.
And this is where you get your step down from the nut.
Yep. So you thickness it, and I have Allen keys that I loosen this up, and I have a couple of these different ones for the different headstock shapes, and you lock it in here, and then you clamp it down. I usually double-sided tape it too, and then I use the router as well, and a template bit to go over and thickness it, and you can see that it rides right here, so I can get a nice clean line. So,
right. Yeah, that's a really slick.
So, yeah, just this is one, again, I saw someone kind of do it online, and I made my own version of it. So this one this is before my CNC too, so a lot of these jigs were before my CNC. So other than that, for the jigs for the neck, I think that's about it. The only other thing I have is a bunch of these templates for the fretting. Let's see that? Yeah, we can show that. Just some of these Strat templates that I made.
All right.
For the trim cavity over, you got 2 humbuckers, the neck pocket
this
there.
This looks like it was laser cut out.
Yeah, this one was an old one from, I think it's like guitartemplates.com. This is pretty old. I've actually never used this one. I think I modified it on some of these to make it work. And this is for a neck block. And this is a Telecaster with my contoured heel, stuff like that. I think those all have, all those have contoured heels. So
yeah, those are really cool.
some body templates, and once again, you just use a template bit that has a little
Right.
ball bearing, and it makes it perfect. So then I have some other templates back there that I bought before I had my CNC machine. So.
And you do have a couple almost finished necks here.
Yes, and I can bust those out too. Saw in the other video, but we can deep dive. So as you can see, this one's pretty much, this one needs finish sanding and a little bit of TLC. I'm filling the fret ends a little bit. I like to do that because I think it looks, it's kind of cool, and you don't have to worry about fret sprout and stuff like that too, because it won't, you know, shrink and, you know, the sides of it. I mean, you might get a little bit here, but it's not as bad as.
And those are stone dots as well?
Recon stone dots, ebony, roasted maple neck here. And it's got a little bit of flame, you can see, and it's got a contoured heel. And I also use threaded inserts on all my necks as well.
Yeah, the flame will come out a lot more once you get some clear on it. Yeah, you can see it though.
But yeah, so this is a neck that went through all the stages. Yeah, I cut out the fretboard and all that and everything. Actually, all these fretboards I cut out with the jigs and the processes that you saw.
And we got aluminum tubing.
Yep, aluminum tubing with black epoxy in the middle, ebony, cocobolo. So you can see this one still needs the headstock thickness. So usually what I do is I thickness a headstock, and then in the one video you saw I had that rigid spindle sander, and I have like a little table jig set up there where I put a new table on it, and then I have a fence, and then based on, I get it as close to the bottom of this as possible, and then I feed it through the fence, and then I have those little spindles, and that's what creates that radius for me.
Right.
And then I usually have to do some hand sanding to
absolutely.
get rid of the line completely, but that's how we do that, just on a spindle sander. It gives a perfect transition. So these ones still need to do that. This is probably the next one I'm going to be working on, because I'm still waiting for a spray booth. I still need to build it, so this one's going to be sprayed in that, so I'm just kind of putting it down for now. But this one's probably going to have oil on it, since it's pretty dense hardwoods, and just want to kind of keep it natural. So I'm going to put Jescar stainless steel jumbo frets in here. First I'm going to sand this fretboard up to, I think this one's up to like 800. It's got a little bit of sheen. I'm going to take this one up to, I think, like 3000. I'm going to get it really shiny. So, and I think that'll look cool with the aluminum too, because it'll really buff that up.
Yep.
So, and I believe this one was 800, 600, 800. So
this one's got the copper tubing.
Yep, and this one's got the copper tubing in it.
It's cool how the lights reflect off.
Yeah, right. I was looking at the phone. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So these are 3 necks that I got in progress here.
And you just showed us the stages of how you get there.
Yeah, how you get there. It's I know it doesn't seem like a lot of work, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot of work, but it's fun. I love doing it. So.
All right, well, you heard him. He loves doing it. So give him a call and tell him you want one built.
That's right.
So.
I gotcha.
And where can we find you at?
Augment Guitars on Instagram, Facebook. I got a merch store and stuff like that. Just Google Augment Guitars and all my links will come up.
All right. Well, there you guys go.
That.
So give Ben a call for a custom guitar.
Yeah, thank you.
Until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe.
See you later.